What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a game called Fabled Lands. This is kind of like, I don't know how old my audience is at this point, but this one's kind of like an old reference. So when I was a kid, there was these ideas of single-player kind of fighting fantasy books. And what they were was, there was one that I had for Star Wars, for example, and you bought the book, and what the book had is that it came with a number of dice, and you played through the book basically as a single-player RPG. You made a character with a character sheet, just like you otherwise would have if you were playing like Dungeons & Dragons or Shadowrun or any of those kinds of games. But it was basically a self-encapsulated campaign inside of a choose-your-own-adventure book with dice and skills and like a character sheet. And you basically played through it on your own. Fabled Lands is a conversion of one of those from the 90s. So like right here at the forefront of this video, I'm just going to say that if you don't like RNG and you don't like reading, this is not the game for you. You're going to want to go ahead and pull an about face right now. This is a game that is targeting a very specific, very niche demographic of gamers that are probably in their 30s somewhere that grew up playing these kinds of games. I did not. I only had like that one Star Wars book that you could do it with where you were like a Jedi or whatever and you would go on Jedi Council missions and stuff like that. But I am aware of these. Like I knew that they existed, but largely I didn't really participate in them because I had D&D groups and stuff like that. So I didn't really need to. Today we're going to take a look at the game, and I'm going to try to give you my first impressions and thoughts. The game is out in 1.0 now. They finally finished their early access. As far as I understand it, this is like a one or a two-man operation, so this was made by like a very, very small team. But we're going to dive on in and we're going to take a look at it. And we're going to see what things can be done better, what things could be done worse, what things it's doing right, so on and so forth. And we're going to do that for about 25-30 minutes. If after watching this you wanted to check the game out for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. I think it's on sale right now. The normal price I think is about $20 for this game. And so anyways, let's go ahead and start it on off. The link's down there along with my Twitch stream and my Discord in case you wanted to swing through live. At the beginning of the game, the first thing we got to do is pick a character. And one thing I actually think this game does really, really well is the art. This is a really pretty game. Like, it's got a lot of good eye candy in here that makes the whole thing kind of pop, I guess. And my guess is that's probably what's going to draw a lot of people to the game is just the presentational style. So we get to pick between a couple characters here. We have the warrior, Andriel. We have the mage, Shalor. We have the priest, Ignatius. We have the rogue, Grey Malkin. And we have the wayfarer, Varkung. And then we have the troubadour, Astariel. And it's up to you which one you want to play. I've spent most of my time prepping for this video playing as the warrior. I feel like the warrior has really, really let me down in a lot of ways. I feel negative feelings when I look at the warrior, so maybe we'll try something different here today. I do like the idea of playing a wizard, or maybe playing like a, what does the troubadour do? So he's got really good charisma, he's not that great at fighting, he's okay at magic. He's not that good at sanctity. He's not that good at scouting. If you're wondering what these are basically bonuses to your dice rolls. The game more or less functions on a 1d6 or a 2d6 system, and if you don't know what that means, in the case of 1d6, it means that you're rolling one six-sided die, trying to get the result that you want, and then these things add onto it, basically, to give you a higher chance. 2d6 means the same thing, but you're rolling two dice with six faces in order to get the result that you want. So our character is clearly really good at charisma. He's okay at magic, he's okay at thievery, he's terrible at scouting, he's pretty miserable at sanctity, and he's like, not that great at combat either. I would say maybe we try out the wayfarer, possibly. I mean, he does start out with a grizzly bear that hangs out with him. Like, what's not to love about a grizzly bear? So maybe we'll try this guy out. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll just name him Splat. How about that? We'll keep it... Oh my god, I'm not on home row right now. My life is a glowing husk of flaming wreckage and slag. Alright, so anyways, we have Splat. We can customize this guy a little bit if you want him to look like a certain way. I'm going to give him more of a Robin Hood vibe right here. It looks like we can also customize our bow. I kind of like that one the best right there. It reminds me of the bow that I had when I was a kid. Kind of looks like that. Mine was made out of like fiberglass though. But, you know, kind of similar. As far as the items go, oh, those are the things on our pouch. I guess I'll go with the little dagger, like the little dirk right there, the skein do. Although skein do goes in your sock. Anyways, and then we can also pick, oh, look at that. We can have little burbs that sit on our shoulder. Yeah, sure, dude. Why not? We'll get the blessing of Athena right here, and we'll have a little owlet on our shoulder. We've also got to pick our difficulty. I would pretty much recommend that everybody play this game on Explorer. You need to understand that this is an old school RPG in all the best and all the worst ways. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. So if you've ever played first edition D&D, or you've ever played AD&D, you'll know exactly what I mean when I bring that up. What I'm saying here is that life in this game is very untenable. It hangs on by a very thin thread. You're gonna die a lot if you play this game on classic mode. And so before you go into classic mode, you should just understand that, like, this game is going to kick you in the shins hard. Permadeath is enabled. You can actually die and have to start over from, like, the beginning of the game. There are saves, but if you haven't saved in a while, there are some events that are so bad that you might as well have killed your character. So on and so forth. This is not a game that's going to be for the faint of heart, I guess, is the disclaimer that I would put at the beginning of this. This is a game that is not going to pull punches and really kind of legitimately hates you. So anyways, Explorer mode, it basically gives you a flat +1 to all of your stats. You get a lot more HP so that you're a lot more resilient. And honestly, I found that playing on Explorer, the game is much smoother. And when you face setbacks in Explorer mode, they are equally as bad as, like, Classic mode. But you recover from them easier just because you've got a lot of bonuses and things like that, whereas recovering on Classic mode can be very, very difficult. However, because they've kind of, like, arranged this such that Classic is, like, the middle difficulty, I think most people are going to jump in on Classic on their first run, and they're going to find out the hard way that this game hurts. We will play on Classic today just because, like, I think that's where most people are going to begin their journey, but my recommendation is that if you are not familiar with fighting fantasy games, you are not familiar with tabletop games that are actively out for your blood and want to slit your throat, play on Explorer mode. I bet you'll have a better time. There's also a hardcore mode you can play. Since everything in this game kind of boils down to dice rolls, I don't know if I would ever play Iron Man mode, because, like, one bad dice roll can basically kill your character permanently. But it's there. It exists just in case you wanted to, you know, grind your tooth enamel down to bloody nubs, I guess. We'll go ahead and start out in classic mode and get this thing popping. Okay, so I am going to skip this entire block of text right here. Battered and bedraggled, you lie gasping for breath until you hear someone walking along the shore towards you. Wary of danger, you lose no time getting to your feet. Confronting you is an old man clad in dirty loincloths. His eyes have a feverish, bright look that is suggestive of a mystic or a madman. Well, what have we have here, friends? He says. He's talking to somebody next to him, but you're pretty certain he's alone. Looks like a washed-up adventurer to me, he says in an answer to his own question, all wet and out of luck. Excuse me, you shout above the hubbub in an attempt to grab the old man's attention. He stops and stares at you. Is this the Isle of Druids? Yes, it is. I see that you're from a far land, so it's up to me to welcome you to Harkuna. But I think you may have much to do here, as it's written in the stars that someone like you would come. Destiny awaits you, my friend. Follow me. He heads off down the path into the hills. You can see some kind of stone structure atop one of them. All right, let's scour the remnants of the washed shore. You find a small vial holding a reddish concoction, and you bless your good fortune when you recognize that it is a healing potion. There we go. All right, so we will explore the island on our own because he's kind of like a very brief tutorial. But this is the game right here. This is what the game world looks like. And honestly, I think it's very, very pretty. I think it's a good-looking game, and they did a good job with kind of the watercolor-inspired pastels and making the place look really, really nice. I think the character portraits look really nice. I like the character designs as well. Unfortunately, that's about as far as it's going to go. This game contains like 0 animation and like 0 motion. Basically, what's going to happen is you're going to move your character to locations, and they're just going to kind of lifelessly slide along the ground until they get there. Combat works the exact same way. You lifelessly slide around on hexagons, and then like the pieces just kind of bump into each other and make a noise to imply an attack or dealing damage. It's one of those things that I think this game could do just monumentally better in order to make it more immersive. It's like instead of having the game piece slide along the map, why didn't they have it like hop and tick like somebody's moving a board game piece, basically like tick, 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 and then you get there, you know? Like, there's a bunch of things they could have done, I think, to inject really that board game playing by yourself in your room, choose your own adventure flavor to the game, and just, it's not there. But anyways, for right now, we can go into the forest. You can really only move to things that are adjacent to you because the game is not on a grid. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to figure out what's adjacent and what isn't. But anyways, if it's lit up and it's labeled with kind of like one of those little banners or scroll works right there, it means you can move to it. The trees are packed, leaning against each other as if in conference, whispering quietly amongst themselves. Birds twitter in the distance and slivers of sunlight lance down through the musty gloom. As you proceed along a forest track, you think you hear a rustling in the bushes, and later you spot a figure darting through the trees. Or was it your imagination? An animal snuffling around right behind you makes you spin around, but there's nothing there. We got to make a scouting roll. Luckily, we're good at scouting, so we have a pretty good chance of succeeding here. There we go, and so we've succeeded at scouting. You struggle deeper into the forest until you come to a thick wall of impenetrable thorn bushes. Circling it, you find there's a break in the hedge, but it is filled by a large tree. To your surprise, a face forms in the trunk and speaks in a woody voice. "None can pass. Begone, human." Okay, what if I'm a really nice guy? It doesn't matter, we fail. What a load of rotten leaves, the tree says. Anybody can see you're as bad as the next human. In fact, I'd say you're probably a lumberjack. Get lost. I mean, we can attack the tree. I don't know if it's gonna go well, but we can do that. Like, it may end really, really poorly for me. Apparently, I have 5 range and I can attack from here, so maybe I'll do that. Who has the lowest HP? There we go. We'll fire an arrow at you. So the game uses an AP system. It appears as though there is some animation on the archer. I've been playing the warrior, and really the warrior, like, there's like a slight movement of the piece and then like a and then the enemy takes damage. It's actually kind of lifeless. But I am glad to see that there's arrows being fired right here from my archer. At least some of the other characters have some interesting things going on. They're going to move up on me for right now. I think I'm going to summon my animal companion. I don't know if he's going to be helpful, but off we go with a bear, I guess. Look for the bear necessities. Okay, he did 2 damage. Fair enough. We'll end his turn. The boar's going to move up. We can't attack the tree. I'm going to move back to here, and I'm going to take an attack of opportunity just to kind of like get a little gap in between me and him. And then my bear is going to attack again. And we'll end his turn. I didn't know really what the boar was going to do. Oh, we got a minimum damage roll, so the tree didn't die. Lovely. Okay, so the tree is apparently down. We did 5 damage right there. I would like to see, like, damage numbers or something going up instead of constantly having to watch the enemy boar's health bar over here. Ow, I've been struck.
I am out of ammo.
You're out of ammo. Can we just, like, default attack? Is that a thing that we can do? It looks like I can attack with my fists. I don't think that's going to go very well, though. Then again, I get to punch a boar to death, which I think is really going to exacerbate the legend of my character. We're a little bit scuffied. We could be in better shape. "Stop, I surrender," yells the tree. "You may pass in view of recent events," it says begrudgingly. It then uproots itself with a great tearing sound and shuffles out of the way. There you go. You can pass. You walk through the thornbush gate, and beyond you find oak trees whose branches are so big they can support the homes of many people. Well, hopefully they're not that upset about me whooping their guardian. "Welcome to the City of Trees," says a woman dressed in the druid's garbs. "The city's been built amidst the branches of several mighty oaks. Ladders run up and down the trees to houses that perch like nests in the branches. You are not allowed into any of the houses, but the druids allow you to barter at the market." I would like some arrows. I didn't realize that I was operating under limited ammunition here. Yes. All the arrows in the world, except I need to save enough to heal myself. So I guess I'll buy 5 arrows. That's fine. And then I'll have enough to heal when I go to town. There are full shop interfaces. I think these are done very tastefully. I think they look very good. They kind of remind me of the old menu interfaces for like World of Warcraft or like older games like that. I think it looks perfectly fine. All of the icons are presentable. They look like what they are supposed to be. I would recommend that our character get an offhand weapon that we can use to smack an enemy in the face just in case. But for now, we'll probably wait it out till we have some more mun-muns, dude. We're a little bit broke. We can go to the druid's leader. You are brought before the leader, the oak druid, a bearded fellow with earth and leaves all tangled up in his hair. He asks you to perform a service for him. Take this oak staff to the willow druid in the forest of Laroon. The sacred grove where he lives will be hard to find, but I'm sure you can do it. The willow druid will give you something to bring back to me, and when you return with it, I will make your techniques of tracking and your wilderness lore even better. Okay, well, we've picked up the druid stick, I guess. So there it is. I will carry your stick with great effect to faraway lands, my friend. Off we go to the town. Alright, so inside of towns, I'm not going to read all this stuff over here, but anyways, inside the town there's a number of features that you can interact with. Most towns kind of have these features. You can go to a stash where you can put your stuff. Sometimes you have to buy a house in town in order to do that. This game does incorporate like property ownership, just in case you were wondering. We can go to the inn and we can get ourselves healed up right there, which is why I saved the money. It's usually $1 per health that you restore, in case you were wondering what the conversion rate looks like right there. We can go to the temple, and inside the temple, I think we can get a job over here. The shrine is set in a wooded grove. Let's talk to the priestess, I guess. The priestess, dressed in silken robes and wearing a wreath of oak, says, I have need of an adventurer. For arcane reasons involving secret mysteries of Lacuna, I need the tusk of a boar. A wereboar, in fact. If you hunt him down and bring me its tusk, I will teach you how to be a better scout. Everybody wants me to be better at scouting. All right, well, let's go see if we can find the boar. Off we go into the woods. Last time we were so repugnant that we got attacked by a tree. Hopefully it goes better this time. I failed my scouting roll, unfortunately. You realize that you are completely lost in a magical forest and you wander around for days barely able to find enough food and water. You lose health. Lovely. Actually, it might be the coast that we need to go to for the wereboar. Let me look. Yeah, I think we got to go to this coastal area to find the wereboar. Yeah, there it is. So as you can see, we roll dice and things happen. If we roll a 2 to a 5, we end up getting attacked by a highwayman, so on and so forth. We rolled a 4, so we are attacked by a highwayman. 2 brigands leap out of hiding and menace you with their swords. One is behind you, one is in the front. Give it up, they advise. Money's not worth getting killed over. Run! A third brigand who had remained hiding in case you made a break for it leaps up and looses an arrow, which strikes you, and you lose a stamina. But we've got to make a scouting roll to escape. And we did make the scouting roll. You lose your pursuers and continue on your journey. Most of these events are repeatable. That's one thing that I actually find to be a little bit jarring about the game, but that's kind of harkening back to the fact that this is drawn directly from a book, is that, like, I've found, hey, we got the wereboar that we needed for our quest. Nice. A wereboar in ornate armor comes thundering out of the undergrowth near the road with a raised spear. There is no chance of retreat or surrender in this battle. Okay, let's take it. Let's do our thing. I'm going to summon my bear. That way I can maybe create some form of gap to, like, live and block him off. I am going to fire an arrow at him. Unfortunately, it looks like we rolled a 3 and we needed to roll a 5. Okay, well, there you go. The bear hit him for 2 HP, so that's kind of nice. And we just struck him for a little bit more. The bear is now down. We spent a lot of money killing that wereboar right there, but, like, hopefully it's good enough. The creature's armor is too heavy to suit you, but you can take a hunting spear in his tusk, grab your acquisitions, and continue onwards. So there's the trophy tusk right there, and then there is the spear. The good news here is that gives us an offhand weapon that we can equip just in case we run out of arrows, which seems exceedingly likely. Given the fact that we have no money and, like, this game is kind of stingy with how it rewards you when you're on this initial island. Like, we killed the wereboar, but he didn't drop anything, like, vendorable or whatever. Like, we could take back the quest item and we'll get, like, a +1 to our scouting. But what we really need is, like, $3 to heal ourselves. They do tooltip stuff, so it will tell you roughly where you need to go in order to get quests done. We'll go ahead and drop this off with the priestess. The priestess, who's wearing the skin of a wolf and covered in red paint, welcomes you gleefully. At last, the tusk, the ceremony can go ahead. She rewards you with knowledge, so we've gained +1 scouting. What does a blessing cost? $25? Okay, I can't afford that. I'm too poor. There's nothing to explore here, so I think what I'll do is we'll go to the obsidian stones, and we're going to start kicking off. Let me close that down real fast. I need to figure out where we need to go. This is the world map as it stands right now. You can go to all of these places. It is open world. There's nothing stopping you from, once you land on the mainland, from just walking off in a direction and seeing what happens. And honestly, that's kind of the best way that I would describe this game. They shouldn't call this game Fabled Lands. They should call it Roll Dice, See What Happens. Because that's really kind of how the game transpires. And usually what happens is you wind up beaten, bloody, and brutalized in a ditch. But, sometimes it works out. Sometimes, maybe. But anyways, back over to here. Let's go ahead and step through an archway. I don't know where we need to go to. Looks like in order to drop that off with the druids, we need to go to Yellowport. So maybe that's where we'll start out, is we'll go to Yellowport from here. If you step through an archway, you can go to Yellowport, Marlock, or Wishport. Let's go to Yellowport. You step through the archway and immediately the symbols on the stone glow with red-hot energy. Your hair stands on end and your body tingles. A crackling nimbus of blue-white force engulfs you, the sky darkens, and thunder and lightning crash and leap across the heavens. Suddenly your vision fades and everything goes black. See, what I would have liked to have seen right there from that animation is they've put so much work into just this static art for the game. What I would have liked to have seen right there is actually lightning coming down, striking your character, fizzling out along the ground, and then your character falling down basically. It's just a couple more frames for each character that would have increased the immersion of this experience, because it seems like that's what they're going for by tenfold. But instead, everything's kind of static and unanimated, and I just don't know if I'm a fan of it. When your sight returns, you find yourself at the gates of a large city set on an ochre-colored river. A vile stink of brimstone permeates the air. You wrinkle your face up in disgust and gag involuntarily. Welcome to Yellowport, says a passing merchant. Okay, bunch of flavor text right here. Apparently, this place is all about, farming sulfur or something, and everything is yellow. And so it's stinky like egg farts. Okay, that's all you need to know about Yellowport. And we do need to figure out a way to get ourselves some money. And most of the quests in town are going to be too difficult for us. So, let's maybe set off. I'm going to save my game, too, in case we die, because there's a pretty good chance that we're going to die. There's a non-zero chance that we're going to wind up dead. Let's head on down the riverbank, because we got to drop off this stick. We've got to take an event, so that's basically the structure of this game, is that you move to a tile, you roll dice to see what happens, something good happens or something bad happens, and then you roll the dice again on the next tile as you make your way from location to location. These stay static, so every single time we come to the stinking river, it will be these same 4 events. I honestly think that the implementation of a day-night cycle with a set of 4 events that only happen from 8 to 12 o'clock, from 1 to 5 o'clock, from 6 to 10 o'clock, so on and so forth, would have made the game a little bit more robust and a little bit more variable, but it kind of is what it is. It's a translation of a book. We rolled a 1, so we got stung by an insect. Stung by a large insect. You are now stung. So our combat has been nerfed by -1. Feels bad. Alright, what's over here? The main road between Marlock City, Triffwa, and Karan Baru is well maintained with regular guard posts. The Sakarans are nothing if not efficient. We rolled a 4. It was uneventful. I'll take that over getting stung by another woodland creature. Let's go up to the Road Tavern. You join the much-traveled road that connects Triffwa and Karan Baru. The traffic mostly consists of convoys and troops and supplies. And we can't really do anything here, so they wanted me to take this into the Forest of Larun. I guess I'll do it. The Forest of Larun is a mighty swath of densely packed trees, a slice of primordial nature in the middle of a busy, industrious Sakara. You thread your way through the ranks of trees, and in places, the forest canopy almost blocks out the sunlight completely. You are wandering in deep shadow, haunted by the cries of creatures of the forest. You are on a quest to take the Oak Staff to the Willow Druid. We've got a 72% chance of succeeding. We succeeded. You come across a forest glade. Birds twitter in the trees, the woodland animals frolic playfully about, and in the middle of the glade stands a mighty willow, ancient beyond reckoning. The trunk is hollow. Okay, and the wooden door has been set into the entrance, and you step into the glade. We've got to roll a 9 or higher with a +3 sanctity. We failed. Your mind is blasted into numb confusion by the protective spells that guard the grove. You wander off aimlessly into the forest and get lost for days. You don't even have the wit to eat and drink. Feels bad. So we have failed that quest, unfortunately. and it has dumped us out on apparently the other side of the forest. All right, we don't have any money, and there's really nothing for us to do here, so I'm going to travel back, and maybe someday we'll make some cash. The road is blocked by wagons and supply convoys. A troop of soldiers forces its way through the throng. The men bang heads indiscriminately to clear people out of the way. We are mistaken for a beggar. You are mistaken for a beggar and get 10 shards from a passing priest. Well, at least something good happened to me, thank God. Let me go ahead and I'm going to rest until I'm fully healed. That's the duration of what I can do with my money. And then, I don't know, try the forest again? Hey, we finally made the scouting roll. It took me we made the sanctity roll. It took me 4 or 5 tries. Like, these events don't go anywhere, which leads to kind of like this circular gameplay of just repeatedly banging your head against rolls that you know you can make because you've got a 60% chance to make them and just taking the consequences. The good news is that I got mistaken for a beggar like 5 times while I was walking down the road, so now we have money too. So that's pretty cool. When in doubt, pretend like you're a beggar, I guess. You are pious enough to be allowed to enter the sacred grove. You step in and knock on the door. If I was pious enough to carry the staff, couldn't they have put like a sigil or something on it that protected me from the wards? I don't like these druids, man. These druids are dubious. These are low-quality, shabby druids. A kindly old druid opens the door and greets you. Yeah, he's real kindly. He only puts mind-melting wards on his door. You hand him the staff. Thank you, he says. An oak staff, eh? Interesting message, to be sure. He hands you $50 as payment and a willow staff, saying, take this to the oak druid in the city of trees on the Isle of Druids. I'm sure he will reward you as well. Thanks again. Okay, apparently they communicate through the gifting of sticks. I've been banged on the head. Unfortunately, you get banged on the head. By what? I don't know. By whom? Indescribable. Just banged on the head. That frequently happens while I'm driving down the 80. I just randomly get clunked on the head and have no idea what happened. That's a thing that transpires. Let's go to Triffwa and see what we can do here. Hey, we found a sword. Nice, dude. Something that I can sell for money and maybe make my character better so I stop just sucking. Because we suck. We're not very good. Alright, let's go to the shop, and we will sell the sword. We've got $110 dues to play around with now. I need arrows first and foremost. Yeah, hit me with like an 8 stack of arrows. There we go. I need ammunition for the road. Apparently there's... Oh, I thought it was a bullet for a gun. I got excited for a second. If we wanted armor, is there any armor in here? Am I even wearing armor? I do. I have a leather gambeson on, so we do have armor. At least that's something. So if you're wondering how you make your character better, you buy these scrolls down here. And these scrolls, like, make your character, like, better at stuff. They give you, like, a bonus, basically, based on what you have equipped. There's lots and lots of books for, like, magic spells and stuff like that. I just didn't know, like, people are probably curious about how the advancement works because there's no, like, XP meter or anything, but it does say that we're rank 1 over here. Oh, yeah, I have sting fever. How do I get sting fever off me? I've been stung. It's $75 to get the sting taken off of me. 30 if I become the follower of one of these gods. Apparently there's Maka, which is the god of disease. We've got Elnir as a god of the sky and kings. Okay. Apparently he can't cure me of my sting boo-boos, though. What's this other guy over here? Alvir and Valmir. They're the king and queen of the waves. Okay. And then, like, what are these guys right here? Tirnai, the god of war. Maybe I'll become an initiate of the god of the sky? Sure. Becoming an initiate of Elnir gives you the benefit of paying less for blessings and other services that the temple offers. It costs you $60 to become an initiate. Ain't that the way it always goes? You can't, that's like, they always give you the first Thetan reading for free, man. Every single time. I don't know if I want to pay $60 to become a member of a cult, so I think I'm going to just kind of, like, move along. There's a trade guild. Apparently, I can stash my money here. Given the amount of events in this game that rob you of your entire purse, probably not the worst idea, in all honesty. Oh, but you can't pick a number to put in. That's really unfortunate. They should definitely add that. It should just say deposit shards right here, and then withdraw shards, and then you get rid of all these other options other than go back, and then you click on it, and a little dialog box pops up and asks you how much you want to put in or take out. Confining it to stacks of 100 is kind of an odd decision. I'm guessing that's from the 90s game book, would be my estimate. I do need to... How much is it for me to go back to the Isle of Druids? 15 bucks? Alright, back to the Isle of Druids we go. Hopefully not to get mangled by any trees or werebores. Oh, I've got to do another scouting roll? Fair enough. There we go. We found the City of Trees. To the Druid! You give the willow staff to the oak druid. Thank you, he says. A willow staff, I see. As a reward, the druid lets you train with the City of Trees' best hunters and trackers. Okay, so we've gained a rank. Our HP has been permanently increased by 2. We just healed up to max HP. And we got a whole bunch of scrolly boys. So we've got an archery scroll. We got a weapon scroll. Oh, I only got to pick one? Oh, no, dude. Well, I thought I got to take all of them. It does say choose one of the following items. Curse me and my inability to read. Literacy! Yet again, you have cost me. It's all good. We've got the bow, so, like, the bow scroll is not the worst thing to take when you're effectively a ranger. So, like, that's fine. Could have been worse. Luckily, what I do like about the scrolls is that they give you a bonus to pretty much like everything of the type. So with a bow, we get 30% critical hit chance. It's not bad. 30% is pretty beefy. Unfortunately, it didn't give me any money, so we're going to kind of take a net loss here, unfortunately. Luckily, the scrolls are really expensive, but... Did I mention there's a robust trade system in this game? Like, you can actually play this game as a trader. Like, you don't even need to be, like, an adventurer. You can kind of just do whatever you want. You can actually just move products around and make money that way if you really, really want to. We've arrived back at Yellowport, and we've kind of got to decide what we want to do next. Maybe I'll just kind of, like, tool around this area? I don't know. We got to make some money, man. I'm poor. We rolled a 3. Nothing happens. Well, that's better than getting stung in the ball by a hornet, so I'll take it. Hey, we found another sword. Nice. These repeatable events, it's a really good idea to commit them to memory. That way, like if you have committed them to memory, you know how to resolve them. We caught a fish, a smolder fish. You can take the smolder fish to one of these villages here and sell it. Oh, okay. So the stinking river has cut its way through the high ground here. On the edge of the chasm that overlooks the river lies the village of Highferris. The locals are behaving strangely. You watch the villagers lay out a fine feast on the village green. A pig is set roasting on a spit. Loaves of freshly baked bread are piled beside bowls of overflowing fruit, butter, and cheese. Lastly, the richest merchants of the village bring coffers full of silver, what they put by the table. To your amazement, instead of sitting down to dine, they scurry home and start closing the shutters on their windows. What goes there? Why do you behave so oddly? They seem frightened of you, but one old fellow replies, the banquet is for the ghosts of the travelers who lost their way in a storm and fell into the mill pond and drowned. When was this? 7 years since. They come every year on this night, and if we don't placate them with victuals and treasure, there's a mess of trouble. How do you know that? Old Megan told us, she said. She knows many things. We'll watch for the ghosts. We're a hero. Why not? From the cover of a hedge, you wait until dusk. By now, all the villagers are safely indoors with their shutters tightly barred. As the sky is turning from velvet, indigo, to starlit blackness, you see 3 pale figures come loping across the green from the direction of the mill pond. They must be the ghosts. Seeing the banquet, they utter gleeful cries and start to devour what has been out for them. They're set out for them. Oh boy, magic roll, huh? I was gonna say, unless we roll like double 6s, we're not getting that one. The moon rises, making the ghosts glow. They sit hunched over the feast like vultures, occasionally stirring their hands in the pile of silver and tittering eerily. I'll confront them. As you stride forward, they look up with expressions of luminous rage. Get ye back, mortal, one warns, or I'll touch you with my grave cold hands and it'll be your dying day. Nah, I'm good. They seem alarmed to see you charge forward undaunted. As your first blow lands solidly and you hear a grunt of pain, you know for a fact that these aren't ghosts, but these are people of flesh and blood. I've got bad news, though. Oh, we've got a really good hit chance. Nice. Well, take that then, nerd. I'll deploy the bear in a second. Deploy tactical bear! Are we on the tactical bear's turn? We are. Good. Fantastic. That guy's gonna move up. I'll probably start off by shooting this guy. Yeah, that's half his health down. Ow! I've been struck. All right. Tactical bear has claimed his first victim. And then we killed another bandit right there, so we may actually be in okay shape here. Aw, dude, you murdered my bear. What does that do? Mark a single target, you get 50% damage bonus. I should probably use that. Hey, 4 damage. We killed him. Hooray for us. Yeah, for the combat animations, I would have very much liked to. It didn't even need to be a lot of accompaniment either visually. Like, they really, all they had to add was just one still frame of your archer drawing his bow and aiming, and then making the bow shot sound, and then going back to this idle stance right here. And, like, I feel like that, like, simple change right there for each of the characters, I think would have added quite a bit to the game, in all honesty. And it didn't even need to be, like, a high-fidelity animation, just, like, your archer drawing his bow and aiming it, and then whip, and the arrow comes out, and then it goes back to this stance right here. It's one of those little things that I really feel like they should have added. You soon have laid the figures out like logs on the green. They are badly hurt but alive. You get a better look at them and you see that they're dusted with flour, giving them a spectral appearance. You summon the other villagers. At first, they are loath to venture out and inspect the strangers, but the fact that you survived convinces them that there's no ghost to worry about. Why, it's old Megan, cries a man as he claps eyes on one of the 3. And there's Braydock the Miller and lame Pootmar. Why are they all covered in flour? Where are the ghosts? You shake your head and sigh at the stupidity of these yokels. There weren't any ghosts. It was these 3 all along. Out of gratitude, the villagers give you $80. You did not wait around to see what fate befalls the accomplices. In theory, they should be taken to the assizes in the nearest town, but the feelings run so deep in this case that you suspect there's going to be some rough justice meted out. You continue your journey. Yeah, this is one of those games that I don't really know what to say about it. Like, because it's a one-for-one adaptation of a choose-your-own-adventure RPG book, and it does that well. I've never played it, but from what I've seen so far, it very much reminds me of that book that I had when I was a kid for Star Wars. Like, this game is targeting a very specific niche of nostalgia and people that enjoyed those from back in their childhood. I think if you're looking for, like, a fail-forward adventure, you would be much better served going with something like Disco Elysium, or something like Citizen Sleeper, because those games, I think, do most of the stuff that this game does, but, like, better and more immersive and more video gamified. However, if you specifically remember those old fighting fantasy books and whatnot, and you want to relive the glory days of your youth, basically doing a one-for-one conversion of those things in digital form, I think you'll probably have a good time. I do think that the RNG is really going to make a lot of people grind their teeth about this one, because, like, there is a lot. Like, I walked around this road like 4 times redoing that event inside the forest until I got the dice roll that I wanted, and there's not a lot of variability to the events. Like, I would like to see multiple ways to conclude certain events instead of being forced to make that mysticism roll right there, you know what I mean? Like, why not let me use my charisma to call out to the druid inside the trunk? And, like, just giving the player 2 or 3 options of, like, what skill to use when they go up to an event, I think would have assuaged, like, some of the hurt feelings that you get from the RNG, because then at least prior to that, you had some level of agency. But I find that with this game, a lot of the events directly railroad you into, like, one dice roll, and if that dice roll does not match up with the skills that your character inherently has either baked into him or otherwise developed, you find yourself doing what I did, which is walking around the horn over and over and over again, redoing the dice roll, until eventually you blind luck your way through it, which at that point it's kind of like, okay, well, you know, I'm not quite as satisfied now. It's an odd game, and honestly, that's why I hope people don't think I'm being too heavy-handed on this one here today, because my goal is not to say that the game is bad. That's not the ultimate intent. This is a game out of its time, and so, like, if you grew up playing stuff like Chainsaw Warrior, or those little single-player RPGs that were read out of a singular novel with some dice along the way, or you played, like, first edition or second edition D&D, like, this game is very much targeting that nostalgia, and I'm aware of how many of you go and buy games after I put up a video, and so I just wanted to make that abundantly clear. This is not an RPG that is seeking out to establish, like, large market dominance. This is a game that is very much a digital adaptation of another game that was very much a product of its time. And so if you enjoyed things like Chainsaw Warrior and whatnot and played them as they came out, this is going to very much feel like you've been drawn back into the past by that nostalgia, and you'll probably enjoy it a lot. But if you're looking for like a slick modern RPG with all of the accompaniment that comes along with that, this is by no means that game. It's just not that modern. And so anyways, I love the art style. I love the soundtrack. I think the game looks and sounds utterly fantastic. I've already talked about some of the adaptations that I feel like should have been made to combat, and so honestly, if you're looking for a trip down memory lane, this might not be a bad choice. But anyways, my name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today we had Fabled Lands. Tomorrow we will have something else. Thank you for the luxury of your attention, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.